They built 35 homes on my land, so I opened the dam and let nature take its revenge. I never imagined I'd be the man who wiped out a neighborhood with one decision. But when the HOA buried my family's creek in concrete, tried to erase 150 years of history, and pushed me to the edge, I realized I had only two choices: let them win, or let the water fight back for me. See, this wasn't just water. This creek ran through my veins. My grandfather dug the first irrigation channels after returning from World War II. My dad built his ranch along its banks. And me? I spent 30 years working as a hydrologist, studying flood patterns, river systems, and what happens when arrogant people try to control nature. So when Brenda, the self-crowned queen of Willowbrook Estates, marched up in her polished shoes, wagged her finger at me, and said, "Your land is part of my HOA now, whether you like it or not," I knew she had no clue what she was stepping into. She thought I was just some old guy tinkering in a garage. She didn't know I'd spent decades watching rivers destroy million-dollar mistakes. And now, she had just built one in her own backyard. That's what I saw. Cement trucks lined up at dawn. The roar of engines drowned out birdsong. By evening, the clear water of Cottonwood Creek was replaced by a gray scar of concrete. They called it beautification and flood prevention. But I knew what it really was: theft. The HOA wasn't just stealing my water. They were erasing my property rights, my history, and my future. The new luxury homeowners clapped as if Brenda had gifted them beachfront property. She smiled like a queen addressing her kingdom. When I demanded an explanation, she hit me with violation notices. Unsightly auto parts, improper landscaping, even my Harley was suddenly an eyesore. Every letter came with threats of daily fines. But here's the kicker: my land predated her HOA by almost a century. Her rules had no power here. She thought she could outspend me in court. But I wasn't just fighting with lawyers. I had something stronger: evidence, knowledge, and a creek that had more rights than she did. For months, I played their game. I kept quiet, acted beaten down. Meanwhile, I studied everything. Where the concrete met soil. Where storm drains clogged. Where backyards dipped just a little too low. Brenda saw a victory. I saw a ticking time bomb. At night, I walked the creek with a flashlight, marking weak spots. My workshop filled with maps, calculations, rainfall records. I wasn't planning destruction, I was documenting negligence. Because when that water broke loose, and it always does, it wouldn't be on me. It would be on them. I called in old army buddies who'd seen levees break overseas. I contacted environmental lawyers who lived for cases like this. Together, we built not just a plan, but a case so airtight that when the dam burst, figuratively and literally, the HOA wouldn't know what hit them. Brenda thought she could bend nature to her will. I was about to remind her that nature doesn't negotiate. When Brenda took the stand, she thought she could bully a judge. Big mistake. Court day looked like a movie scene. Rows of HOA members in suits, Brenda leading the charge in her pearl earrings and polished smile. She strutted up like she owned the courthouse. But the second the evidence came out, photos of illegal construction, forged permits, emails proving she knew the risks, her confidence cracked. She snapped on the witness stand, screaming about how I was controlling the weather and committing eco-terrorism. Judge Blackwood's gavel slammed. Control yourself or be held in contempt. The courtroom buzzed. Reporters scribbled. And in that moment, Brenda's empire started collapsing. Outside those doors, the FBI was raiding her office. EPA officials were inspecting the creek. And whispers spread fast: this wasn't just one HOA gone rogue. It was part of a statewide fraud scheme. Brenda hadn't just made enemies, she'd made herself the face of corruption. The judge didn't just rule in my favor, she rewrote history. One by one, the charges landed like hammer blows. Fraud. Conspiracy. Clean Water Act violations. Property theft. Emotional distress. Every box checked guilty. The HOA was ordered to rip out the concrete, restore the creek, and pay me $750,000 in damages. But money wasn't the real win. The ruling set a precedent. In Colorado, water rights tied to land could not be touched by any HOA, ever again. Brenda sat stone-faced, her empire reduced to rubble. For years, she'd acted untouchable. Now, her name was forever linked to the case that ended her career. That night, for the first time in months, I slept with my window open. The sound of Cottonwood Creek returned, rushing and free, drowning out every memory of concrete and corruption. Justice doesn't always sound like a gavel. Sometimes, it sounds like running water. While firefighters pumped swamp water from Brenda's $1 million basement, I stood on my porch, coffee in hand, watching the creek sparkle like it had in my grandfather's day. Over the months, nature healed itself. Willow trees sprouted, trout darted through the current, kids laughed as they skipped stones. The same families who once sided with Brenda now brought shovels, planting along the banks. Even those who had voted against me admitted, the creek belonged to everyone. Cottonwood Creek wasn't just water. It was resilience. Proof that nature, when given the chance, will always fight back stronger than before. One small creek in Colorado started a movement across the nation. The case became national news. Law schools studied it. Environmental groups called it a victory for property owners everywhere. Politicians pushed new laws, Dale's Law, banning HOAs from tampering with waterways without environmental review. The settlement money built more than repairs. We funded scholarships, restoration projects, even a community festival celebrating the creek's rebirth. Willowbrook went from a bitter battlefield to a gathering place. Every year, thousands come to the Cottonwood Festival. What started as my family's fight has become a movement. Brenda thought she'd walk away rich. Instead, she walked into prison. She pleaded guilty, 18 months in federal prison. Her realtor's license? Gone. Assets? Seized. Reputation? Destroyed. Meanwhile, my ranch is alive again. My workshop isn't just a garage, it's a classroom for neighborhood kids. Martha's students win science fairs with creek projects. Letters pour in from across the country, you gave us courage to fight our HOAs. And every morning, I sit on my porch, listening to the creek. My grandfather's creek. Proof that one person, standing firm, can stop even the most powerful bully. So if you're watching this and your HOA is overstepping, don't stay silent. Stand tall. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't destruction. It's restoration.